Hey everyone, and thank you for joining in again this week. We are picking back up with our Laravel CV builder, and this time we're going to be doing some domain-driven design stuff to make it a little bit more fancy. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get started, but the first thing I want to do is, I don't know if anybody heard, but there's a sea shanty that's come out for Laravel by a guy called Marcus. You can find him on Twitter. I'll have to get his link for you, but I'll play it in the background as we get started. Let me know if you can hear it. Can't help but smile at this sort of stuff, can you? Where are we starting?
Train your telescope on that far horizon. Don't get marooned on development island. We're gonna build an app so well on the good ship Laravel. Get on board now, every sailor. Dance to the tune of Captain Taylor. You've never built an app so well as on the good ship Laravel.
Is that a better volume? I'm going to do little bits while we wait for the music to finish.
Train your telescope on that far horizon. Don't get marooned on development island. We're gonna build an app so well on the good ship Laravel. Get on board now, every sailor. Dance to the tune of Captain Taylor. You've never built an app so well as on the good ship Laravel.
Right, and there's that. I had to play that. Something that Marcus made, and it was absolutely brilliant. But we'll go back to the music now. Right, so all I've done here is injected the authenticatable interface so I can get the current user through the DI. Instead of just going auth user, it's an easier way to do it. But one thing that we can do for this, what I think we need to do is, if this was going to be domain-driven design, this needs to be injected a different way, I think. Yeah, it's an awesome song, isn't it? I'll have to find it. Oh, where was it? Let me find it. Let me see if I can find the link for you. It was a Twitter link. I sent it in a conversation. Right, let me just quit Telegram. Right, let's go find it. Here we go. This is the tweet. Is the audio still low? I mean, I've got the microphone to my face. I don't want to shout too loud because obviously I've got kids in bed, so if the music is a bit too much, I can turn that down. There we go. But there's a tweet. Go check out that tweet. It's really, really awful looking tweet. Let me get rid of that part. There we go. Hey Samuel. There you go. This is a little bit friendlier to look at. That is the tweet. It's awesome. Really awesome. So, domain-driven design in Laravel. People talk about it all the time. Some people do it. Some people partially do it. Other people don't really subscribe to it. So, this is my way. This is the way that I've created over the last few years that I found works and works well for me. Hey, how are you doing? Right, auto loading. Right, what we want to do is to start with, we need to add a domains directory, and that needs to be in source domains. Why is it I always put a full stop there? So we will go and create that. Create source domains. Alongside domains, I like to call this infrastructure, because what that is where all of our bindings are going to be. Just run a quick composer update on that one. And that should be it, really, once it's finished doing its magic. And we're good. So, as you can see, it still loads perfectly fine. So that can now be closed. So what we need is, we need a domain to start with. So we'll start with a profile. Profile's a good one to start with. It's understandable. So we're going to create a directory called profile, and we're going to match that one as well. Oh, London to Cardiff train. I have done that before. No, it's domains. There's more than one domain. So what we'll have is, in our profile, we will start having contracts and actions, and we'll start binding to things. So if we look at how we did the show controller, at the minute it's just saying user load profile. But if this was proper DDD, this would break. This would just say nope. So what we need to do is look at a way we can work with this. How could we do this? Let's update that. So we've got the authenticatable user. I think that is technically fine, but I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan of doing it that way. So when we show, what we want to do is, we kind of want like a actions, or we'll do queries. So it feels like a lot of work, but it adds a lot of benefit for testing, but it also adds a lot of benefit for swapping things out later down the line. So within here, we're going to create a new query, and we're going to say user profile query. And what this is going to do is public function. It's going to have a handle method. It's going to accept a user, and it's going to return profile. Technically, it's going to return a model. So what we need this to do is, we need to say, okay, we want to get a user where a profile where the user ID is the user ID. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is composer require a Barry package, ID helper. Right, what I'm going to do quickly is open up Warp. What was the command again? There we go, that one. And we've just written everything. So now that's still going to complain. If we swap this to like user, that would be fine. But because it's authenticatable, we're binding to a contract. It is what it is. Ooh, where belongs to? I've not actually used that one before. Yeah, he's going to complain about that one. Let's test it. So there's a user. What we can do instead is profile. We can say something like we'll improve this in a minute. There we go. Right, so there we go. So we have got a query which works. So what we need realistically here is we need to create a new interface. So user profile query. Oh, my mind's just completely gone blank. Contract interface go. And what we need is basically this. So in theory, what we authenticatable is correct. However, I don't want to use that. I want to use a model instead. And I'm binding to a model because, you know, if I make any changes to the auth gate and authenticate through something else, like the profile instead of a user, then I've got to change things. And I know that everything's always going to be a model when it comes to this, so it makes it a lot easier to manage. It also means that it doesn't have to be the authenticated user. So what we'll do is import that, and there we go. Queries user profile. No, I kind of like to do it this way. I'm a little bit funny like that. I won't lie. I am a little bit picky. So I'm going to create a provider. In here, I'm going to create a new profile service provider. This is going to extend service provider for Laravel, and we can get started. So what we want to do is we want to bind the contract to the user profile query like that. And sorry, that's my doorbell in the background. Sounds like the shopping is here. I'll see if a wife needs me at all. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add a quick let's clean that up. There we go. So what we've got to do now is we're just going to register this specific service provider here. So in our app, down where our providers live, right down the bottom, what I typically do is I grab that and I create a new one called domain service providers. So domains, profile, providers, profile service, class, and there we go. So that in our controller here, we can add that, add this, and then we can also inject the user profile query contract as a query, and we can say query handle user. There we go. Let's see if it balks. Yep. Not instantiable. Okay, so we are going to have to go for authenticatable. Unfortunately. Bit of a pain. Didn't want to have to. But we're going to do it anyway. That's going to complain, but that's static analysis, which we can get around at this point. Eloquent's kind of handling it here, which is a little bit kind of feels a bit off, but it works. That's the important thing. It works. So there's our... Oh, sorry about that, everyone. My internet disappeared. I am back. Hopefully you're still with me. So this part isn't a controller. This is a Livewire component now. So we'll go to the profile form, for example. So here, every time I stream, I have issues with the internet. I don't know whether it's because I'm streaming in 4K. Maybe it can't handle it. I can't change it. But as I was saying, what we'll do, we'll design the implementation first. Testing it now.
Like I said, I was watching you tonight, so.
Am I?
Just came back and it said we will. You just came back and said we will design the implementation first. Now it's jumped again. Now I can see you looking at your phone.
You can actually see me. Hey, is it working? It's not working for me, but we'll see. Debugging with the wife. There we go. Excellent. Right, I can carry on. Love you, wife. Thanks.
Love you.
Bye. Live debugging with the wife. Perfect. Right, sorry about that, everyone. Every time I stream, I have issues with the internet. Every time. So frustrating. Right, where were we? Yeah, it looks like it's back. So I apologise, everyone. I am back. Everything looks like it's working fine. So I'm going to assume it is working. And if I carry on having issues, I'm just going to go back to something like Stream Deck. Right, and we're going to create a new contract for this. Tech support of the wife to the rescue. She's good to me. She's very good to me. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that quickly. I didn't add anything here, which will really annoy me. So I don't need that one. I don't need that one anymore. This is going to implement that. Kick the kid. No one's watching Netflix. The wife's downstairs watching this. No one's on Netflix. Right, okay, so profile, update, attributes, bio. That's all it needs, just that. So what we need to do now is go back to our provider and bind this. There we go. Right. Yeah, I've got some good tech support here. Very good tech support. Right, so in my form here, what I want to do is pull this in as the action, and then I want to say action handle. The profile is I'm passing the user in there. That seems like a waste. Let's refactor that and let's see what we can do. This is it's down here, isn't it? This is app, profile, show, profile form. So we've got the user. We know we can get the user. That's going through mount. But all it needs is the UUID and bio. Seems like a bit of a waste passing the whole user through, right? So couldn't we just say user, or actually we've got profile here, so we can say profile UUID and bio is profile bio. Just pass that through. That means we won't need that. Those are already there, so we don't need any of that. Just gonna comment that out for now. Yeah, so I use a source folder because in any other framework and any other way of using PHP, I typically use src source. This is where my source code lives. And then if I'm going to create a compiled version, it'll be in dist, or if it's a binary, it's in bin folder. It's just a paradigm that's been around in PHP for such a long time. I stick with it. My application code is in the app directory, and anything not directly related to my app but domain specific lives in source, because that's the code that I want to be able to ship around a little bit more. So we've got that, and what we should probably do, because what we need here, we need the profile. So we probably want to pass through, realistically we want to pass through the profile. So on mount, public function mount, we're going to get the profile. This profile is profile. This UUID is profile UUID. And then this bio is profile bio. And I will add a cool. So now what I can do when I'm trying to handle this, I can just say this profile, and the bio is this bio. And that's done. That's handled. That is no longer needed. So what? I need to find a nice way to add these. I want like a flash message. I'm not going to bother right now, but I want a flash message. So when I click save, it pops up down here or up here or somewhere. it can just alert me to say, bing, it's done. Great work. Is there anything on the show blade? There's a form. Here's this. There's a form there. Somewhere like here, maybe? Yeah, somewhere like here. So what we're going to do is going to grab a little banner. Something simple like this. There we go. Let's grab this. Okay, that does not look simple. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a component for this. Create a new blade component called notification.blade.php for now. Quickly format this, and let's just clean it up quickly. So here is our little icon. It's not super vital that we keep it, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to keep it. It's not needed. This button, that's a dismiss button. And what we will do is something like visible false. We'll do some props up the top, and what we'll do is we want to pass in visible. It's got to be passed in. By default, we're going to set it to be false. And then what we can do, I believe we can do something like class fixed if visible, and hidden if something like that. Maybe let's have a look. Let's see if this will actually work. Oh, here we go. Right, so X notification. Right, it is displaying. So what we want to do is have a visible, and we'll just do something like a that's not what we want, is it? I'll ignore the notification for now. I need to think of a nice way to do it, not just like a rubbish one. Therefore, let's see for me. Let's get DDDing. Yes, we are DDDing. So this is my lovely profile. Save. Refresh. Refresh. Go elsewhere. Come back. It is there. It has worked. We've DDD'd it. We've DDD'd it. So all we've had to do really is bring in that contract with the action, which we've bound through our service provider over here, and then just handle the action. And all that does is performs one small simple action, so we can test that. So we'll drop that component out of the way because we don't care about that right now. And we've got one query, one action, and we're good so far. I will use Alpine components eventually. This is more about DDD. I'm trying to remind myself that this is about DDD. It's not about writing a really nice front end because I couldn't do that if I tried. So I'll focus. Experience form, right. So what have we got going on in here? There's actually not much we can do with this right now. Because we're actually leaning on filament heavily to do this. It's got the profile. Submitting's being handled elsewhere. So the only thing that we could possibly do now is start to look at creating some shares. That's probably what we want to be doing, right? Let's clear that. We don't need warp, do we? Not right now. Although warp is amazing. Yeah, DDD is amazing. Right, share. We're going to go create some shares. So we don't want filament admin for this. We want filament form builder. Filament admin we had a good idea on last time. So what we're going to do on this share page, we'll come back to that. We're just going to scaffold a quick view out. In shares, in here, create a shareable link, and then this is where we're going to have a live wire profile dot share form. And what we want to add to that realistically is we want the profile. That is it. That should be all we need. So this is our red green refactor. Does a page die? I'm not worrying about tests right now. I'm just trying to focus on the DDD, so you're getting what we need. What we're going to do testing wise is we've got Luke Downing coming to join us. Hey Kat, how are you finding London? I hope you aren't driving yourself crazy. I know I would in London, I'm not going to lie. Oh, what we can do in the show controller. Here we go. Here we go. We can do this. We can do this. We want to load profile and experiences. Now they're two separate domains technically. Never not, I suppose. How should we do this? So we've got the user there, and we want the profile. So if we go have a look, just got home. Ah, welcome home. We want to get the user profile. So we've already got a query for that. We don't have to create a new one. We've got our profile. There we go. So let's go look at, not shares, experience. Let's see how this dies. This is working so far. Perfect. So if I come back a second, have you used named arguments for view arguments? No. Every time I try that, it dies. So there we go. It complains there. I think if I was to view make, maybe. I just won't worry. There you go. I think if I view make, it will be fine, basically. Right, okay, so that is that working. We've swapped that over for that show controller. So for this show controller, we've got the profile here. And if we go to shares, it's going to complain because it can't find the component. So we can artisan live wire make, not project, we want profile ShareForm. And it's going to be an inline template again. So this should now be fine, which it is. So if we just collapse that, come to Livewire profile. Here's my profile form, so I can grab the implements has forms stuff that I need. Ignore that, and we'll keep that for now. ShareForm. So there we go, has forms. And it also interacts with forms. Declare my strict types. And what I'm going to do for now, I'm going to just basically replicate this. Because it needs to look similar. That's the important thing. I was trying to... QR barcode reader field defaults to the text. Oh, that's cool. I'm pretty sure a text field will work with a barcode machine. I used to have a barcode machine. Long story, but I had one. Right, so the share form, what do I need? So let's go look at our share. We need an email and a template for it to use. So do we have a list of templates yet? We don't have a list of templates. All we've got is page share and whatever's in there. So what we need a way to register them. So we need, on the share form, we're going to have public string email and public string template. That part is fine, and what we need that to do is just going to add the form schema stuff too above the render. We don't want a markdown editor, we want a text input, make email required. Now for this select, what we want to do, we want to provide some options. So select make template, options. So our options is going to be an array. Now we need to now create an enum. So we want to go to the directory, enums, and we're going to create a new PHP enum called profile template. So we'll say this is an enum. It's going to return a string. But before I do that, I need to update composer JSON so that we are on 8.1 like the rest of the world. So we're going to have a case. Case example for now. So options is going to be cases. So let's go have a look. Ooh, is option disabled? Label must be of type string. Profile template. Oh. Okay, this is where I need to go back. Look at the docs. Look at the docs. Come on, Steve. Pay attention to the docs. So select. Right. What I'm going to do is on the mount, I was going to dyn dump a test. You can pass the enum class to options it extract. Oh, you beautiful person. You just thought of everything for this. Template. Example. Oh, okay. What is it giving me though? Select example. I suppose that is the correct way to do it. The only way we could change this is to say like example. Not quite the same, is it? It's almost like you want it the other way around sometimes, but we'll stick with it for now. Eventually this isn't going to be a select. Eventually this is going to be like SVG icon-y style, like what style do you want, or select from an image, click on the image. It's going to be something like that eventually. So then when we save, this is going to go to public function submit. Going to return void for now. This don't need to validate, or do I? I'm going to validate. I'm not going to use a form to save it this time. I'm going to do it the DDD way, and then we'll look at what we can do with the experiences later to see what we can figure out. Oh, hiccups. I do apologize. So, to create a share, what we need to do is we'll kind of sudo this one out. We need to action handle. And what we want it to handle is we need like the profile something or other. So maybe we'll get like the profile UUID. Then we'll get the email. And then we'll get what template we are going to use. That's going to have to be like this UUID. So if we come down to like that share here, we've got the profile there. So we're going to have to say we should have profile is there, so I should be able to, when we submit, it's going to die and dump out the profile itself, make sure it actually is there. Types of property, template must not be accessed before instantiation. Okay, so caveats to using enums. Types of property, email must not be accessed. Oh. I'm pretty sure this gets me every time. We've got a profile, attributes are there, got the right user ID, and we're looking good. So it means we don't actually have to do much else. All we need to do is get it all actioned, I suppose. So when we submit, what we want to be doing is creating a new action called create share, I suppose. Create profile share. This is going to public function is going to be handled. It will return a model of some description. It's going to have a UUID for the profile. I suppose we could just pass the profile. we get the profile, we are going to get a string email, and then we are going to get a string for the template. Starting to get a little bit too long on one line for my liking. So what it needs to do then is return share query create attributes. I mean, I could like use repositories for this, but action class is kind of it's kind of like that middle ground between a service class and a repository, and there's no real need for it. So we're going to have the profile, the email, sorry, as the email. We are then going to have the template as a template, and the profile ID as the profile ID, which means in theory I could just use profile as an ID because that's the only part we really care about. There's no point passing it all over. A little bit like this. So what we need is let's just get rid of a couple of these views. Profile template, we don't need that right now. We don't need that model or that form. We need to create the contract for this. So in infrastructure, actions, we can create a new contract, interface, go. And what we need is that. So in our provider, we can now say that that is being bound. So in our ShareForm, we can grab that as our action handle on comment. Unreachable statement, apparently. Ah, wait a minute. There we go. There we go. Now we're good. So, sort out the formatting. So profile shares. Way to create a new one. Probably going to have to move that form out of there. I might put it in like a modal or something. We'll see. But we'll test it. What we'll do underneath is like resources, shares. Like for each shares as a share. And for each obviously you've got to put it in something semantic at the end of the day, right? This will obviously be styled a little bit more a little bit later. So we've already got some. So the benefits of adding the contract is that you're binding through the container. So in your tests, you can bind to a test double. If you expand, if you change things, you're bound through a contract. So you're going to get code issues before you get actual UI issues, and so many benefits, if I'm honest. A lot of different benefits. Right, so we've got shares. I'm going to say test@user.com, and we're going to use this template. But what we'll do on this ShareForm is redirect to the root profile shares show, and we're going to say this profile UID. Ooh, not null validation. Okay, so the token needs to be created. So that's my bad. We will go ahead and create that now. As a token, this is a trait. Public function. Oh. Pretty sure you don't need like a static. No, you do. Boot has token void. There we go. And then static creating model token equals string random. We're going to set a length of 20. Not yet, there's no Git repo right now. Soon. There should be one soon. So now share. It's got a UID. Let's see if it's going to complain about having a token too. Refresh. So test at user.com. Save. No value in common relation shares values. So the question becomes, do we need a UID on something like this? So if we come down to our database, migrations, shares, drop the UID because it's probably not needed. In the factory for share, awesome. Make sure that looks relevant. And we will sale artisan migrate fresh and seed, and we'll test it again. So test at user.com. Test at user.com. It is added. Quite snappy too, if I do say so myself. So let's rewrite those. That has UID. Quick profile share. That works. Share token. So we've got tokens. That works. I mean, it looks ugly. Don't get me wrong. It looks ugly, but it does what it needs. I can go Steve at somewhere.com, and I want him to see that. And what we'll do is we will also add share template. There's a template. These ones using test, which doesn't exist, but these are using example, which is fine. So we can do that. There's our shares. What we could probably do is we could spice it up in a little while. How long have we been streaming, so I can make sure I'm not spending forever. 62 minutes. That's good. That is not bad. In theory, I could probably move those over to this boop column over here. So if we go back to our app layout quickly, we've got all of that stuff. We've got all of this stuff in our right column. And what we'll do is, if sidebar is set, then we're going to display it. Else we'll boop it. Cool, so that's that bit handled. In our show over here, what we need to do is X slot sidebar boop dupe or booper foop. Why is that not working? Booper foop is there. Cool. So what we can do is we can come down here and grab these. Add them over there, and they'll just pop over there and list, and we'll see if we've got a nice little list item somewhere. Sidebar, stacked list, grid list, feed, stacked list maybe. So like this. Code, just gonna grab it. This. Grab all those LIs, get rid of them. Get rid of that. Style it up. Right, what I need is github.com, Laravel, Jetstream. So what we have with Jetstream is has profile photo, so you can get the URL like this, and that is kind of what I'm going to do here as well. So let's see what happens when you pass an email to it. Grab that, and we're just going to there's that. share email, and underneath we are going to have share template. So grab that, place it, and drop that out like so. There we go. It's grabbing stuff nicely. So TA. Cool. Close enough, right? I mean, you could extend it and add name and really customize it, but right now I think that is probably going to be enough. Right, that is showing the share templates, that is creating the share templates. As token, ShareForm, that's being handled nicely. So, is there a way we could make the experiences nicer? I don't know if I'd want to, because it handles like creating multiple. It's quite interconnected into the components. So it might feel a bit forced. I did have a double li. I definitely did. What I might do actually is inside our shares show down the bottom down here. There it is. I wonder if I could just wrap all of that in an A. Nope, it breaks it. Darn it. Not cool. Or just add a class of flex on it. That keeps it, which means I can get rid of that. Which is great. And then for that A, we can say something like share email, share for somebody, drop the class down, add the root in, view share passing through a share token. Page shares test not found. Example. Boom, and there we are. Looks good. So that's that share working. What other parts have we got that need a little bit of improvement for DDD right now? We've got some publics like the show controller here. So share, load profile, and owner. So what we'd have to do is profile, do something, owner, do something. So we'll go view it and we'll go make a couple of queries for this. It's a bit of a pain having to like do lots of queries, but we'll see what we can do after we've done that to make it a little bit more similar to how we would do it. So we need the profile and we need the owner for that share. So let's grab that and we need to start creating some queries. Now this is technically for the profile, but it's not going to be for the profile. Domain wise, they're two separate sorts of domains. We have got like a share domain, but I'm going to call it like a view domain, because these are specifically for viewing. So we're going to have to create a providers. Have to create a view service a view service provider. Extends the service provider. That one. Simplify that one. Public array of bindings. It's an array of class string. So I can now get that and add that to my config down here. Domains, view, providers, view service provider, class. So that will now auto register things, which is great. What we want is a query. Queries. Start to create some queries. So what we need is, how do we name the? What's the other naming convention? Use a profile query. And so what we'll do is what we're passing into that, a user, authenticatable user. Not quite what I have in mind. For the share. So for the view, I'm going to create a new share profile query. Public function handle. This is going to accept that and return a model. So we are going to accept a int for the profile. Return profile query find profile. Find accept an ID. And that is pretty much it. So I can now go create the share profile query contract. Have that contract, make it an interface. Bind it by going to the view service provider and say that we want to bind both of these. Import that one, import that one. That's the bindings, that's all of that. Show controller. What we need is, technically we should probably put this in the constructor here. Public function construct. I'll have a public read-only property of this contract for the query. Import that one, but what we'll do is we'll call this one the profile query. So we can say this profile query handle The profile is share profile ID. That handles that aspect of it. Ooh. ShareController argument must be of type share profile query given. Now we're better. So there we go. So here is our share profile query. We just weren't implementing the contract. My bad. It happens. It was bound okay. Everything was fine. And now that action is done. So the other thing we need to do is we need to get the share user. So nice way to do this is going to be share user query. So public function handle. That needs to obviously return a model. So we're going to have to pass through an integer for the profile, return user query where has relation called profile, and the callback is going to be builder Cool, that looks about right. We'll tweak share user query interface contract share user query contract. That is all there. That is all handled, so now I can grab this and say that it is being implemented. That is good. Done, done. So import that one, import that one. Come back to a ShareController and we will add in a public read-only for owner query. Still not dying, which is good. So we have a share, we have a profile, and we have an owner. So let's go down to our view and let's see how this is going to be implemented. Pages, share, example. I should be able to just say owner name. And an email. It's coming through okay. This image here, that is very similar to what I just did in here down with the image. Won't worry about the color though, we'll just keep it the same. owner name, Steve McDougall, looking good, looking good. So owner email, profile name, calendar, recognition, description list. What we could do is, well, you could start designing this at this point if you really wanted to. So let's go up to the top where we've got this image thing. Let's put that on the div instead. Drop the image. That's still going to be the same. So the object cover, we could do something like, I would probably want to be running a watcher for Tailwind, of course. Cool. And there we go. You can email from there. It's got the email, got some information. We could probably want to like style this up a little bit, so where it says about, you could, because this is markdown, profile bio. Bio is null. This is awesome. Here is a list. Let's go view shares again. Might need to look at markdown rendering. Laravel markdown cast. It's got to be a cast. It's got to be a nice way to do it. Laravel markdown. Put to HTML. At markdown. Cool. So what I need is Graham Campbell markdown package. Let's have a look at that. Alias facade configuration. Usage, you can use a facade, otherwise you can do that and just say at markdown stuff. This, oh wait a minute. Limit contracts. Okay, it has not been updated, so probably not the best one. Does it? It's got a markdown directive already. So I can ignore that and just say something like let's go to okay, so you can string off. So the show controller, what I'd need to do is, it has got it for emails, so it's like the helper. I don't know whether you can like There we go. That kind of works. Here is a list. So if I go back to the bio, ignore that. This is some bold text. Italics. Strike through. So let's grab a random image. We'll go for like grab a random Star Trek Voyager image because I am a huge fan of Star Trek Voyager. And what we want to do is not the cast. Something like this. Copy image address. URL. Oops. Ta-da! So yeah, you insert script tags and stuff. So what you can do, you can add in options. So if you look at the helper, HTML input strip. There we go. I mean, realistically, you wouldn't add something like this because this is a bio, but just in case. Then you've got team member stuff down there. Maybe you would sort that out. So let's drop that. Drop that. Drop that. And that. And what we could do at this point is really you need experiences as well as a profile. So we need to create something else, another query at this point. It feels like the long way around, I know. It does feel very slow. So share experiences query contract. And this is obviously an interface. That's good, that's been added, that's been added. We're going to want a collection at this point. So my domain view queries, a new query. It's going to implement this. So far so good. Simplify that. So what we're going to pass in to this is going to be the profile ID. So again, profile, return experience query where get. where the profile ID is profile. Get. And for now, I'll kind of keep it like that. Grab that, go there, replace that. That bit's good. We can now go back through to bind this. Import that one. Import that one. Come back to here. Import that. So at this point we can say this experience query handle where the profile is share profile ID. Make sure we're not dying and we're good. So if we come back to example down here, we've got 1, 2, 3, we got all of these. For each experiences as experience, I would create an empty state for this as well, eventually. And where it says team members, I'll probably add work history. Okay, so apparently that doesn't do anything, but if I experience query where profile ID is share profile ID get, still nothing. Cool. So I just don't have any experiences yet. That's cool. We can fix that. That is fixable. Experience. We'll add computer scientist for somebody. Test. Current. Save. Shares. Go view. It should be showing. Why isn't it showing? Dale Artisan Tinker models experience all. So there's only one experience in there. Belongs to profile ID 1, so Star Trek Voyager, user ID 1, so that should be my user. So why is it not displaying? Maybe something to do with the share. profile ID for one. That's all coming through fine. Experiences. Is it not being bound? Share experience query contract. I think it could be to do with this. I've had issues before, yeah. So I've had issues before where adding named parameters in the query builder causes issues. So what we need to do now is, in our example down here, we can say experience, job title, name. This is going to cause an n+1 issue, but we can fix it. Experience, company, name. And we can work on displaying that a little bit nicer. So, how long's the stream been going on for? 99 minutes. Just coming up to 9 o'clock. Haven't really got much more to do right now, I don't think. I think the only thing we could possibly do is make this a little bit nicer. So, here's our experience. If we weren't, we shouldn't in theory be using joins, in theory. But this is to do with the view. I would probably say it's okay. And that would fix it. I mean, you could move that off to a different service and return a DTO and accessing through a DTO. Nothing wrong with doing it that way at all. Probably the recommended way, if I'm honest. I'm happy with that. I'm not really crossing many domains. I haven't got anything else where it's specifically to do with a job title and company, so it's okay for now. Yes, it has changed a lot. Would be nice to see how we could simplify this, but I think all of these having their own is okay. We're not, as long as we're smart with our queries within here and we're not killing it, we're fine. There's a service provider. So, because it's 9 o'clock, I am going to recap for those interested. Nope, don't want to merge things. So what we've had is we did have lots of CRUD going on. So for example, in our dashboard controller, authenticatable, bad example, profile show. There we go. So what we did have was we were just returning the authenticatable user and with the profile tagged on. It wasn't great, wasn't perfect, but it did work. What we can do here is obviously we've now created a specific query. We've created a user profile query, which is down in our source directory. So in domains, profile, queries, we've got a user profile query. And this is accepting the user. We could probably switch this to be where the user ID is user, and then swap this for an integer. Let's change this for an integer to make it a little bit more abstract for now. So that down here. Get the profile for the user ID. So it keeps it cleaner. You know, eventually I'd like to swap this to maybe a how to cache these queries. So cache, remember, the key would be, what is this, user profile, user profile user closure at the end. Okay, my bad. Then length of time would be, so we've got a key. We go like this, so that when we go look at our profile, or yeah, ShareController for our profile, it's cached. So all we've got to do is cache remember, basically, inside the query itself. It's that simple, just like you would in a controller, but you're moving it elsewhere. And what it'll do, it'll just evaluate that first to check if that cache item's there and it's still valid, and then it'll just re-query it if not. Keeps it nice and clean, nice and simple. Personally, I don't think I'd want to cache this right now, but I'll keep it there for an example. So then what we've got is, obviously, each domain has got its service provider. It doesn't really need much. All it's doing is providing some bindings, and is binding the abstract to the concrete, much like dead, say, in the register. This would be the same as me saying this app bind the abstract of user profile query class, and then my concrete would be a new user profile query. So then if I comment that one out, my bad. There we go. Exactly the same. So instead of having to say this bind, we are literally just saying here are some bindings because I already know them. So that is then registered in our config, our app config. Down the bottom, we add some domain service providers. Here's our profile one, and then obviously we have anything that's specific to our view. And class string is a string that is a class. So it's correct in terms of static analysis. And that's it. We've got queries and we've got actions. So instead of CQRS, we've got like AQRS, maybe a little bit closer to it. So that is me for the night, I think. I think I could probably do a little bit more on Thursday. There's probably a little bit more refactoring that I could do. If you'd like to see it, let me know. I have been trying to get something to work, but I keep getting an issue with browser stack. What I've done in Roots Web down the bottom, I've created like a download controller here, and what this does is it gets the first share, generates a random thing, tries to create a browser shot and returns a response with a file. Now I've tried multiple different ways to work with this, and Node just is not playing ball. Yeah, I'm not too sure what I can do, if I'm honest. Drop in the sandbox, you know, it's something that I need to investigate. I've looked through the issues. I'm not the only person facing this issue, but the issues are kind of gone dead with it, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but I would like to be able to like basically download the CV. That was the idea, using browser shot. It might be I have to use a different package. We will see. Worst case, we'll look at something else. But thank you for tuning in. That was refactoring to DDD. And what we'll do is we'll listen to some good ship Laravel as we say goodnight. So remember to like, comment, subscribe to the video and my channel if it makes me feel a bit better and makes me feel like I'm not just talking to myself. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up, drop some comments after it's finished going live so that I can get your feedback. As usual, in the description below there is, do I have Node installed?
Train your telescope on that far horizon. Don't get marooned on development island. We're gonna build an app so well on the good ship Laravel. Get on board now, every sailor. Dance to the tune of Captain Taylor. You've never built an app so well as on the good ship Laravel.
Should be within there. Whether that's not got Node installed, I do not know. It could just be a case of adding Node to my build here, this Docker file. I'd assume it had Node installed, but I could be completely wrong. User local bin, supervisor, Node version. It's got Node.
Train your telescope on that far horizon. Don't get marooned on development island. We're gonna build an app so well on the good ship Laravel. Get on board now, every sailor. Dance to the tune of Captain Taylor. You've never built an app so well as on the good ship
Leave that alone,
Laravel.
Steve. Yes, description in below. There's a link to Discord. Feel free to join, have a conversation. Let me know what you want me to do on Thursday. Do you want me to carry on with a CV builder? Is there something else you'd rather see? I've got a huge list of things I want to be streaming, and on my channel, as you can see, I've got a few lined up. I'm being taught Rust, then I'm being taught Statamic, and then I'm being taught testing. If you've got something you want to teach me, or something that you think I could, others could benefit from, reach out on Twitter, reach out on Discord. We can organize a shared stream. Other than that, thank you very much for listening. Have a good evening or day, whatever time it is for you. PHP Online, well, if enough people want it, I will do it. the reason I keep stopping PHP Online is because people don't enjoy watching it because they get bored. Maybe I should just scrap it and do it all in filament, right? Shall we do that? Do you want to do filament admin for PHP Online? Let me know. If you want me to do it, I'll do it. Let me know on Twitter, let me know on Discord, let me know however, pigeon. Send me a pigeon, send me a postcard, whatever it might be. But thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good evening. Good night.